for, how you even found it, and then we can dive into some more of the nitty gritty.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, thank you for having me. And then, yeah, I also just let you know if you could add Darkpool Wizard, he's here. And thank you for everyone for being here. One thing I want to do is first, before we start, make sure you guys go ahead and follow everyone here on the panel. They're absolutely amazing. They follow the flow beautifully, and I follow each one of them, so they just kill it. So one thing that I want to get into is everyone does things differently, but what I love about Whale, and I kind of have this like 3-step process that I like to do. So for me, it all kind of starts actually at the Whale alert. I like to, for my technical trades and different things, I always dive into the flow and I like to see what's cracking. But really, one of the best things for me that's really improved my trading drastically, and it's crazy because my personal membership is coming up close to a year. So I've been a Whale user for a long time. And it really has only increased my my probability of my trade. So what I am is I am a high probability trader, and I use my option trades as almost a breakout or propulsion play when it does have massive moves. Or I'm also looking for things with low IV that I think have the right technical setups. And then, with the various alerts, with the various flow, I look to get into it. And then I'm looking for, then when it does explode to high IV, that's when I sell. But anyways, let me go ahead and kind of start really quick. So first and foremost, if you haven't used Whale, you're new, you're all this kind of stuff, what's really awesome is you can go to their website for free, check it out, kind of dive into it. They have free alerts. It's really awesome. You don't have to be a premium member right away to go ahead and use some of the amazing tools. And that's actually how I got into it. So first and foremost, I would tell everyone, go learn the emoji legends first, and that will really help you guide your way through the site on what you're looking for. That has really helped me. And then secondary, how I use it is, so for me, I have a 3-step process. It starts with the Whale alerts. When I see a Whale alert that has a daily volume of 6 figures or higher, I then go to my differential. Is my differential in the money, at the money, or is it really something like a lotto play, like really out of the money? I'm not really interested with anything further than 10% out of the money. I like for my option realistically to be moving as close to the underlying as possible. So then once I've figured out and I found something that I really like on the daily volume, I really like the differential, then I go ahead and I look at the IV. As long as our IV is below 100, ideally I like it below 75 and below 50, but as long as it's below 100, I'm ready to rock and roll. And then I go ahead and I dive deep into the alert, where it gives you more of the Greeks and all the pertinent information. And for me, that's very important. I then go and I check the flow. What is the flow for the day telling you for that particular alert? What is also the dark pool telling you for that particular alert? I also like to go in and see, hey, what kind of senator or Congress action has happened for that particular alert, for that particular stock? And then I also really like to see, and this is very important for me, this is probably the most important rule when I'm trading options, is I got to make sure that the delta to theta ratio is a minimum of 10 to 1. I've said this before. Once we broke 447 on the SPY, I was swinging trades. So when I swing and I'm looking for things, especially on the overnight, I want to make sure that I'm not getting destroyed by theta. So it's very, very important for me to always have a delta to theta ratio of a minimum 10 to 1. And then my final alert, like my final kind of step, is then the charting aspect. Making sure that I'm going and doing proper charting, finding proper entries. Is this currently running too much? Is it overextended? Is there an opportunity for a pullback, for a bounce off of certain EMA levels that are very pertinent? And after I've done my a Whale alert analysis, once I've dove in deeper into the alert to see what's really going on behind the alert in the sense of the flow, dark pool, senator, Congress action, and then also what's our delta to theta ratio. After that, I then go and I do some charting. And once I find the charts that are speaking to me, then that's when I go ahead and I really dive even deeper into Whale and say if I like an alert, but I don't necessarily like the expiration, it's too close. Then I go to the options calculator and it's absolutely beautiful. Then I get to see what is the volume. Is it something that has proper volume on the option? Am I able to get in and out in the sense is there liquidity? And then the secondary is what are the option prices? Maybe I really like an alert. I love the chart, but the delta to theta ratio isn't what I'm looking for. Then I go to the option calculator and make sure I find the proper delta to theta ratio. It's just awesome. I mean, being an options trader is really a full. It's encompassing. It does so many beautiful things that has only increased my trading. I'm sorry, I'll let other people go too, but that was a little long. But I just wanted to kind of give you guys an idea of step by step how I go about it. For me, it's step one, starting at whale alerts. Step two, diving deep into the whale alerts. What's the flow? What's the dark pool? What's the Congress action? What's the delta to theta ratio? And then finally going and charting and finding that you have all of these kind of encompassing factors that are saying, hey, this is bullish for you, or hey, this is bearish, or hey, guess what? Two of the one steps are not matching the alert, so then you go ahead and you don't have to follow it. So that's how I've been using Whale. It's been an amazing tool. There's so many tools and steps. I mean, even to the point where they have their own social sentiment. Every single morning, I go and check out what are the Furus doing. I want to make sure I see what's the chatter on Twitter, because I just like to follow the flow. I am someone as a shark, I go long, I go short. I'm not a bull, I'm not a bear. What I am is I'm a price action trader that is looking for data that can help me find those winners. So thank you again, and sorry if I ran a little long, Gav.
Not long at all, Shark. Honestly, that was concise, and I feel like you really hit on some of the major aspects of this platform, plus walked us through your daily process, which I know starts really early in the day, basically in the middle of the night, as you're walking through to create these watch lists, which we're going to go into how to actually use the platform to create that watch list. And it starts with what you said, setting those filters to be able to find those really large transactions, whales as you would call them, with those, 6 figures and above. As you can see, sometimes millions of dollars of flow come in. Real quick, so I want to reiterate what Shark said again. This is a great panel up here of people that are familiar with options, with following the flow, with dark pool. Do make sure that you're following them if it's something that you want to be a part of. Whale, did you want to speak at all right here, or I can go on to some other speakers?
Yeah, what I'll say is, like, a bunch of the people here are, part of the support team here, like Stoner Man. A bunch of them are traders who use the platform. The platform is just a platform. It's a tool. It's not going to, be a guaranteed money printer. I want to kind of like stress that. And it's like constantly improving. We very much take like user feedback very seriously. The product itself is like maybe around like 500 days old now or something. Yeah, we've really grown, and we're trying to, make the most affordable platform of all time. That's our goal. Someone like Snorlax or Stoner Man here could really speak to kind of like those community aspects, and Snorlax is a great trader in and of his own right. And maybe some of the features we're working on. But yeah, Gav, take over. I know a lot of people here may have trouble speaking. I find space is kind of lagging on me right now, so not sure if that's the same for you guys, but yeah.
You said your sound quality was completely clear, and it's crazy to think that this has all come together in just 500 days when you look at it, especially with your audience and then what's going on the platform. So I do want to dive into some of the tools that are on here and working through the flow. So one of the tools, which is relatively new, it literally has the new sign on it when you come into the platform, but you sent out a special email about it because you're really excited for it, is the options calculator, where you have that ability to go ahead, load your strategy, put in the calls, the puts, toggle through. I just put in like AMD right here. I'm looking at it. I'm getting some info. So I'll go to Stonerman first if you want to go, and then maybe to Snorlax if you're okay talking, to talk a little bit about this new feature and why somebody should come on here and use this.
Can everybody hear me all right?
Yes, sir.
Good deal. Wasn't sure. My stuff's been doing the same thing Wales was. So the new options calculator, as some of you know, and as Gavin mentioned, is new. And it, for all intents and purposes, I think it's probably one of the most beautiful updates he's done, because that's one of the things. I work with a lot of Twitch and YouTube streamers and content creators that use unusual whales, and that's kind of one of the main parts of my role. And the ability to calculate their option strategies, it's one of the main things that potential affiliates and partners have brought up to me as something they wish we really had. And so I was very excited when Whale brought up that he was going to be pushing one of these in here. And It can literally do just about anything you want it to in terms of, building multi-leg strategies. So if you want to, if you want to do something as simple as building a basic bull credit spread, you can very easily pick the strikes and it breaks down, the profit and the loss of that strategy. And just for the sake of like playing with it, I've built it out to have like 12 legs just to see if it would. And it'll calculate just about anything it throws at you. And if something's like weird, or if a part of a multi-leg strategy that you're building isn't symmetrical, it'll pop up and tell you, hey, this strike doing this action doesn't mesh with what it seems you're trying to do. And so someone like me I'm not as well versed in a lot of multi-leg strategy trading as I'm sure many of you are. And so it's really nice for me personally to be able to have a visual of what will happen to, the profit or loss margin of that play in real time. And it makes these estimates for you, so you don't have to kind of go in dry, if you will, or kind of go in without having, real idea of doing it. And for someone who's not, in any way a mathematician like myself, this is really, really good.
Absolutely. It's great for those multi-leg strategies, or even, I think, some single ones as well. You can kind of work with your strategy. So real quick, so Snorlax, I know that you're on here as well. Are you able to speak?
Yep, right here. Can you hear me?
Yes, absolutely. So I'd love to hear from you because you're constantly putting out alerts, right? And you're giving details in your alerts. So what do you search for? What is kind of your filter system in the flow when it's coming in? What stands out to you on your radar where you look at it and go, okay, that's something where there's clear and obvious movement, and I can go and do some due diligence into what's going on there to potentially place a trade?
Thanks for having us, first off. So everyone looks for something different, and my MO is I like to look for. So contrary to, I think, let me just rewind a second here. Contrary to what a lot of other people do, and this is fine, this works great for them. It's just easier for me, I think, to just dummy it down to someone is, placing a large transaction on XYZ for, a certain date. You can, and I want to see that they're creating this position out of so exceeding any open interest. So the open interest, when we're talking about options, being the number of contracts that currently exist. So, let's say there's only 100 contracts for this, this hypothetical ticker. But if someone swoops in for 10,000 contracts for out of the money calls, a month or two out, that's going to raise some eyebrows. So that's something that I'm going to want to look into. So something that might surprise maybe some people is that I don't really look at charts when I trade. Like I'll look at it just to make sure that I'm not, buying a call on something that's going straight down. I'll zoom out a couple days. I'll look at the weekly and stuff. But I just really want to see where the money is going. And the money's not always right, of course. But if someone is willing to put, like a 7-figure amount on, a ticker, that's some confidence, right? So that's something that you want to look at. But it's not always just about following like the one person, or even just following any one trade that you see, because there's just a lot of action going on. So you want to analyze it, and I believe that this platform's strength is that you can see literally everything. Not an exaggeration. Every trade made, you'll see it on the feed. So if you're buying one contract for a $5 lotto on something ridiculous, you'll see that. You'll see institutions making literally there was a $1 billion Tesla option that I saw 2 weeks ago. So you'll see everything from A to Z, and it gives you a bird's eye view. There's all sorts of tools that help you, analyze sentiment, strikes, popular tickers, what expirations are they looking at, what's the market looking at as a whole. So it's just a really powerful tool. And back to what I was saying about what I'm looking for. So I'm just looking for these large orders. I want to see if they're, hitting this strike, if they've been hitting this strike for a lot. I want to see if they're repositioning contracts. I've been talking about that on my feed a lot lately. I've been noticing traders rolling contracts, either forwards or backwards. So, you can track, somewhat accurately and fairly accurately in some cases when the numbers line up well, what this big money is doing. So it's really helpful. I mean, like I'm not looking at financials and stuff. I mean, no one is really, right? But I just want to follow the money. The money has done the work, right? They know the stuff that we don't. So just dumb it down. You don't have to follow, just random stuff. You can just see what's happening and make your own determination. So that's really like personally put a lot of power into like my trading. If anyone has any further questions on that, please ask, but I'll defer to someone else at this time.
And to that end, Snorlax, just to build off what he was saying, kind of like following that flow over time, the time range calendar in the filters of the tool is something really useful to me, because one thing I really like seeing is when you click on a ticker in the flow, it'll take you to the historical flow. And what I really like seeing is call or put volume on any given ticker that's just massive compared to their historical flow. And you can kind of trace that back within the flow tool itself as well. So like Snorlax was saying, let's say you see this huge 7-figure, play on ticker A, and you go and check the historical flow of ticker A, and lo and behold, they barely have any call volume or put volume in the past, like for the past several weeks. And then suddenly today there's 50,000 contracts. That really stands out to me. And so what I like to do, that I kind of stole from Snorlax, is go back through the dates on that strike and see if they've been, doing that consistently over the course of time as well.
Love it. Yeah, the historicals can definitely be powerful. And also, watching them get in and out, sometimes you can see points of resistance, right? Points of support. Oh, they came in here, made, $3-4 million, premium of option calls or whatever it was, and then they got out, because people will trade these things over and over from what I've seen once they find a stock that they like. Exclusive, I would love to bring you into this. And, you've recently, I think, become a partner with Unusual Whales. Can you walk me through how you use it to help you cultivate and create a watch list?
Yeah. So really, so I'm nowhere near as experienced as everyone else on this panel with the flow data in general. I've just recently started using it, but so far, what I have really begun to love about this flow data is, like they were just saying, the historical data. So I pinged to the space an instance for Nike back on October 12th. So I'm a technically driven trader. So when I see, bullish premium for 11.5, bearish premium for 11.19, and so on and so forth, you can kind of gauge where these price targets from, these analysts are coming from. And you can see the flow data bringing you these option contracts that are further out, that aren't necessarily even anywhere near the money. And then I combine that with a technical chart that we have put together. And then that's kind of what I've been doing now after hours and pre-market, is I'm looking for these flows that match almost perfectly with the TA that we have preset on these given names. And for now, that's really all I do, other than looking for these huge whale buys. Other than that, those are the only two things I've had time to explore so far. But there's a ton of stuff on this. If you're not using it, you need to.
I'll just say you don't need to. 100% you don't need to. Like options trading in and of itself is a very difficult thing to do, and I would say that learning how to trade based on options inflows and outflows is like even way more difficult because you're working with like second order effects of the market. Like if you spend screen time doing this for like 6 months, you don't even have to look at charts necessarily anymore. Some people very much still rely upon TA, but generally speaking, like you don't need to do this. This is just a platform. We're constantly making it better. For example, we have like a really, really cool alert tool coming out that will like really, I think, some of these, like, a lot of us flow traders, we kind of like have like larger themes here, whether it's like an earnings pre-run or repeated activity or something like that. We're building this a dashboard that will really, really help, I think, a lot of new traders to like kind of see how we think about these kind of larger themes in the flow and how to look out for them. But yeah, you do not need to get the platform. Please just learn and read. We have a lot of free educational material, a lot of free tutorials. Yeah.
Yeah, and just to piggyback off what Whale said, just let everyone know, you don't have to go and have a subscription to go and check out the website. That's what's so awesome about it, and that's what I was trying to tell everyone. Go out, check it out, see what you like, see what kind of things fit with you, right? And what's really awesome is the platform gives away even free alerts, right? So just for me, it's been something that has benefited me. For me, I am a technical analysis trader, just like Exclusive. But for me, more data is better, right? And that's just how I look at it. And when I'm able to see the data, just like what Snorlax talked about, just like what Spider-Man was talking about, when you're able to see what's happening below the surface sometimes, it does help you with, I guess, confirmation on what you are seeing sometimes on technicals. But Whale's right. I can literally look at the flow and most of the time not even have to look at a chart to see what directional movement you're going to be getting. It took me a long time to get there. Don't get me wrong. I've been almost spending a year on this thing constantly. But what I do recommend to everyone is go check it out. Really, check it out. It's awesome. It's a really cool platform.
So I love that 100% that it is available, that people can check it out even without the subscription. Thank you, Wales, for being very humble, but we're still going to highly promote this service since we love it. I'd love to go to Darkpool Wizard, because dark pools have been something that I've been paying more attention to recently. And for anyone who's unfamiliar, I'd love you to give a little bit of context as to what they are and how they can be worked into trading.
Absolutely. Am I coming in clear?
Yes, sir.
First off, I want to say thank you for having me on here, and I apologize for singling you out, Unusual Whales, but as someone who is very pro little guy, I love what you do and what you're offering. That's why I'm on board. That's why I'm such a big fan. I know I sound like a fanboy, but I cannot stress enough how thankful I am that you exist and your services exist and all that for the little man. That's one of my biggest goals, is to help the small guys out, because the system is geared against us, and the dark pools, I don't want to get into a big long spiel about them. I am biased to this, of course, because Darkpool Wizard. Dark pools are literally dark pools of liquidity. They allow actual whales, I mean, not literal actual whales, but they allow the billionaires like JP Morgan and Charles Schwab and all them to fill, 10 million shares of something without being chewed up in the order book, without alerting anyone to their intentions, which direction they're going, all that. When they first started, it was just like JP Morgan to Charles Schwab, and that was fine, but now they can hook them up to the Arca book or the Instinet for the NASDAQ, and they can get orders filled from us without reporting the volume for up to 24 hours. So, they're pools of liquidity. They do not necessarily say buy or sell, thus dark. I love the dark pools. This is where I focus on. I'm mostly a TA trader, but I follow basically everything Shark has already said, so I don't have to explain any of that. I like to know what's going on first. And I would say 90+% of the time, anytime a whale makes a move, they're going to do it through the dark pool first. Then you will see the flow start coming in, and you will start seeing the whale alerts come out. The typical duration of movement from a dark pool print coming in to the actual stock being moved up or down is 1 to 90 days. And I know that doesn't sound helpful. Bear with me. They do what they want when they want it. Now, for a more realistic, usable, pragmatic thing, we've got roughly 3 to 18 trading days. This is the average movement time from a dark pool print coming in. So I like to be aware ahead. I'm here every single morning watching the pool, going through, this is not something you can do lightly. You have to get in, spend not all your time, but you have to spend a lot of time to know what you're looking at, because I'm looking for literally an unusual whale in the dark pool. So the name is, beautiful and perfect, poetic. One thing real quick for the viewers, the listeners, please do not immediately try to go out and trade the dark pool. your chances of a successful trade, even if you see like a 10 million print on something, are very low. You have to look, you have to watch and wait to see what direction it's going to end up being moved. I like to see a 10% size. Now, don't confuse size with volume on their platform. Big question I get a lot of times. Size is the actual size of the block. Volume is an aggregate that's been running so far for the day. I like to see roughly about 10% of the volume come in one print for me to think that it is unusual. There is no cookie cutter size, though, for me to tell you that this is a print worth noting. I like to say 1 million, but some companies, smaller floats, a 200K print is an epically large dark pool print. And then some companies like Pfizer and Ford, I'm looking for a 10 million print or a 6 million print before I would consider it to be unusual. I don't know how else to describe to be helpful because it's a very visual thing.
Absolutely, it is. So once you see, let's say, 5 million in, volume or I guess premium come in, what's your next move, right? Let's say you're looking at it. I don't know. I'm just not even scanning right now for anything, but I don't know. I think yesterday, like I saw a ton for Veil. I just saw like a ton of activity in like Veil dark pools. So where would you go from that?
Not Veil specifically, but what I will do is I will actually write it down. And I do this every morning. I make a list of every single unusual one. And then I either make a mental note or I go into my chart and I will put that level specifically in relationship to the day of it. And then I will put an alert a little bit above or a little bit below to see what direction the chart has been moving since it happened. And this isn't like post earnings or anything like that. That's or a black swan event. I'm just talking about your normal day range of up and down movement. I will then start watching for the alerts to come out. It's beautiful, and like I said, the average duration is 3 to 10 trading days from the dark pool before I start seeing the alerts. And Whales catches most of them. Now, I don't trade every single one, and the new people, you shouldn't. Focus on one or two things and try to get your mark. Try for accuracy. Don't try to trade everything at once. That is just not a wise thing to do. But that's what I do. I look for the dark pool. I see something come in. I don't even really look at the flow. I don't really watch the flow during the day because I'm too busy with the dark pool. But that's my method. I will see the dark pool alert. Anything that I deem unusual, I will make a note of. And then when an alert comes out, it sticks out in my mind, even if it's 5 days later, because I'm already, hey, wait a minute, there's already a monster dark pool print for this. Then that's how I focus on what my target is going to be. So everyone has something different, not necessarily this person's way is right or my way is right or anything like that. This is just how I operate. That was successful for me. But that's what I do. Instead of watching the flow and then going to the dark pool for verification, I watch the dark pool because I want to see the actual bigger picture. Then I will revert and go to the alerts. Does that?
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. Kind of working your way, inwards out.
Yeah, I like to see the bigger picture because to me, not that it's wrong, but watching the dark pool lets me know all the garbage coming through. What is big money doing? And it's a lot to take in. It really is. But I prefer to have a bigger picture that way than opposed to just what the flow and the alerts are doing. But that's my preference. That's
Absolutely.
I was just gonna say, Gav, that's what's so cool, right? Is there's so many different ways to look and utilize unusual whale that's it's beautiful. It really is.
If I can jump in, Gav, yeah. So we try to build the tool itself just to be fully agnostic, where it doesn't your ability to trade is obviously dependent on you. The platform will try and give hints here, say you're one of my favorite strategies is looking at like hot chains on Mondays, for example, because now I know where the weeklies are probably heading, and then I split it up based on like small caps. If I think the small caps are going to rally this week or next week or something to that effect, but like we keep it super agnostic because we want people to trade however they want. Dark pool wizard himself, a great trader, starts in the dark pool. Most people don't even necessarily look at the dark pools unless that's like the final confirmation tool. So like we are very agnostic, and we try not to force like your ability to trade in any certain way, because like this is a tool and there's many different ways to slice a cat, just like there's many different ways to be a TA trader. The same thing is with regards to flow. Sem, I forget Sem's last name, but Sem, he's a great options trader himself. He worked behind a desk for a very long time. He'll be the first to tell you that like flow trading and options trading is like a very new type of thing. Kind of started around like 2018, really, as options like kind of changed morphology and like the larger retail participation in it. So like flow trading and options trading in and of itself is like really changed over the last 2 years for sure. And that's why like any platform that is a options based platform shouldn't push their users, because it's discovery, more or less.
I do have one more thing, gentlemen, from the dark pool. There is a very overlooked tool on this platform, and I keep it running nonstop. I've got a little tiny window designated to it, and that is the live news flow. I already have a picture in my head of what I think big money is doing based off the dark pool. But if I'm sitting there 4 or 5 o'clock every morning and I start seeing the same alert for, let's say, gold or semiconductors, I'm going to make a note in my head to pay attention more to that sector, and then I'll go to a scanner or I'll see what's moving pre-market. And if 4 or 5 things start lining up, that gives me even more confirmation in a direction to pay attention to. The live news flow, I personally think it is something that is overlooked by a lot of people, and there's good stuff in there if you're trying to figure out what to focus on.
100%. I'd love to bring a couple more of our speakers who haven't spoken just yet into this, and then I'm going to come back to you, Shark. So big short bets. Would love to hear a bit about how you're using the flow, because I think you have a bit of a different trading style.
I mean, yes and no, not necessarily, because like the big short bets is not about the trading itself. I mean, let me just elaborate what big short bets is, because after the GME squeeze and all the stuff that happens, all the Robin Hood affecting the market, cutting off the retail players, we traders decided to like make our own market and platform on the decentralized web to, allow to smart contracts operate and decentralize the whole thing to, just make the game operated by the smart contracts to be more, the rules will be clear. You don't have the ability to cut off everyone and so on. And so we all know that the battle is really unequal on the market. Big whales has access to insider information and first-hand information before it even pops on the Bloomberg terminal. So a dark pool is another way to hide the trades from the retail, So thank you very much, Unusual Ways, to showing how the dark pool trades going on the market. But so we need the tools to bring this stuff closer to the retail, and that will help them for sure. One is bringing the insider information signals and flow like the Unusual Ways do. For example, you have this Senate part. I love the Senate part. I love the fact that that Unusual Ways utilize the Congress and Senate trading, and that the fact that they have access to this insider information and are able to somehow front run the trades for their personal gains. Shout out to Pelosi. And catching up these signals are, in my opinion, the bridge and a mechanism to bring this insider clonage to the retail, because you cannot bring the information to the public, but you can bring the effect. And you can see that if you have Like, for example, I don't know, you see that Senate is buying some stock on some certain price, huge amount of it. The signal pops in on the Unusual Ways platform, and something is going on. You don't necessarily know the information behind it, but you see that there is some effect of it, and that the Congress and Senate has this access to insider information, as they're the closest to the source. And so by taking this everything into account, you just see that there's probably something going on, and it's worth bring the price. And as far as I see on the Twitter pages, that everyone are showing off their trades with using the Usual Ways signals. Like something is really going on, and it's perfectly perfectly visible that that the insider information and the Senate trading affects everything. But but if we try to bring the insider information to the public, this would make feel the breath of the SEC on your shoulder for sure. But there is kind of the solution, if I could speak about. So this solution kind of connects with everything that with helping up the retail and everything like that. So by utilizing everything in information that you have on the Unusual Ways, we also want to create a space where like all the people around the world have access to the information, first-hand information, workers in a facility and so on, but they cannot, or they don't want to share it with the public. But we somehow wanna allow them to do that, and if they will be able to do that, it will be the same way that they utilize the signals from the Usual Ways, because this also will affect the trading and make them profit, basically.
And that's definitely what it's all about there. Real quick, I want to bring in, so he wasn't able to actually speak before, but Tom, it sounds like you're free now, right?
I am. What's going on, Gab?
Tom, I'd love to hear from you. You and Shark are using this platform on a daily basis. It's become super integrated. For beginners, for people who have not had experience with following the flow before, what would be 2 or 3 pieces of advice that you would give them when using a platform like this?
Actually, so that's a really good question. I was sitting here thinking the entire time I was sitting back, I was watching the markets and a couple trades I had going on. And believe it or not, I heard a couple things that resonated with me. And Whale, hello, Whale. Thanks for having us. And Gab, thanks for having us. Yeah, it actually, so I did this professionally, right? Institutionally. And it is a very different world today for the, retail trader versus what it was back when I was working in a professional capacity. Back then, it was pretty much if you wanted an investment or stock, call your broker. And, be basically at their mercy. There wasn't a lot of information that was readily available to the retail trader. And so the retail trader or the individual investor was automatically put at a disadvantage. Additionally, I would say the information was very difficult to digest or fully understand. Things were not distilled down to a easily understandable, metric. For instance, like if I put together a portfolio, I'm literally using risk-free rates, covariances, standard deviations, betas, building out a whole metric that hopefully, knock on wood, gives alpha at the end of the day above and beyond what the market returns, right? That's some complex math. And I mean, we've even talked about fixed income trading, stuff like that, bond portfolios, immunization on our streams. So it's like, how do you bring it down to something without somebody having to go through a big educational endeavor or years of experience in the industry? How can you give them, this is the meat and potatoes, this is what you need to know. This is how it's going to drive potentially your investment outcome. And truthfully, I think the platform as a whole does a very good job of that. And I really like the new options calculator in particular. because you get to actually understand option price curve and where basically your intrinsic value, right, and your time value are what gives you your option premium. And usually once you hit the stock price strike price of that contract, you have a diminishing spread on essentially the time value. This is what a lot of people don't seem to understand sometimes. So you capture the greatest value usually on time value of premium once you hit that price and outside of it. But for me, I think Whale's done a great job of simplifying things to where, and he keeps using that word tool, right? And that reminds me of the book. I know the movie wasn't the same, but it was Bringing Down the House, and it was the MIT blackjack people. And so I'm like a data nerd. I'm a fundamentalist. For all of you that don't know, I'm spreadsheets, P&Ls, income statements. That's what I like to do. But it gets me in trouble sometimes. And this shows me, and this dates my age, right? We used to make evaluations on investments, sizable investments, based upon Porter's Five Forces and pest analysis, SWOT analysis. You looked at competitive landscapes. You looked at their discounted cash flows. You looked at real fundamental ratios to determine, does this seem like a good investment? And then you could look at options activity, but it wasn't quite as, I would say, it didn't have as much movement to it. It wasn't as active. The retail trader has kind of emerged and really kind of kicked options into overdrive. And so where Whale keeps saying it's a tool, right? It's not a guarantee. That's the whole point. If you want to be a successful investor, a successful trader, it's about right tool for the right job. And the more pieces that you can have from a data quantification or qualification standpoint in your corner is going to be able to allow you to make better decisions. As I sit here saying this after I literally just bled like stink in the market today. But so when it comes to options for me in particular, Sean is a little bit more of active trader in that stuff. I usually look at options more in the strategy side of things, right? So we all know you want to buy, you can buy calls bullish, buy puts bearish, right? You can write, uncovered calls bearish, right? Uncovered puts bullish, right? But I like the hedging and protective purchase strategies, whether that's writing covered calls, right? And then we've got a limited hedge plus income, or writing covered puts, limited hedge and income, or protective purchases, right? So buying a put to protect a long stock position. So you fully hedge yourself, still maximum gain, unlimited on the upside, sacrifice a little bit here and there. Or buying a call to protect a short stock position, again, fully hedged on the strategy, short sale price minus the premium. So it gives you I like graphic user interface. Okay, I guess that's what I'm getting at. I'm a huge DUI guy. And what I learned in institutional money management is when you're typically seeing a flow of data, and so Darkpool Wizard was talking about this. I mean, he watches the Darkpool all the time. He sees the prints, and he says, okay, that stuck out to me, that stuck out to me. But once you get to the point where there's so much data, you really have to have a way to dashboard it. And, major corporations do this with all the data. I'm also operations strategy, Six Sigma, finance, like all that wonderful stuff. But you really have to be able to distill the data down into a moment, and you have to be able to manipulate it in real time. And I think that's where I really like the options calculator in particular. And I don't know if it was Snorlax or if it was Stormman, but they were talking about, just looking at even multi-leg option strategies, right? So the ability to manipulate that in real time for somebody, you're bringing a lot of that complexity out of the equation and making it a lot more manageable for people that are new to investing and people that are, as Whale said, 2018, right? A lot of it's moved more into flow-based investing versus your kind of traditional aspects. So
that was really helpful, Tom. I appreciate that. I think that a lot of the audience definitely got a lot of that. Did you have a comment, Darkpool Wizard?
Yeah, I do. I forgot to mention it earlier. The way I personally utilize the Darkpool for Unusual Whales, from Unusual Whales, is there's two things that I'm really, really good at, and they took me a long time to do, so please don't go out and try to do it. I can tell with fairly good accuracy every day, every morning, what level for the SPY, the QQQ, the Russell, and the Diamond, because they do it every 24 hours. And I go through and I pick the ones that I believe are going to be the correct level, and it gives me a target for either to go above or below the next day. So for day trading the majors, absolutely amazing tool for the dark pool. I don't need to see what the options are doing. I don't need any of that. Now, I use the Wyckoff method. I'm not going to get into that, but extremely helpful to do it. And then also, I like to do lottos and strangles on unusual prints. So the most recent ones were Ford, and then I also did Etsy, which was very nice today as well. But that's the two things that I utilize extremely successful, and I'm so grateful for, is being able to day trade the majors with a very strong level, and then being able to do out of the money strangles that most of the time pay me exceedingly well.
Love it. Love it. Tom, you got a comment?
Yeah, Whale's got his hand up too, though. I was going to let him go first.
You go for it.
Oh, okay, yeah. I was going to say, like, and if you don't know what a strangle is, you can go to the option profit calculator right now. It's free for everyone, and you could visualize, what a strangle is on any symbol in the options universe for any chain, for any strike and expiry. You can do that. This was like a point I wanted to make like earlier. It kind of passed, but basically, like we've grown very fast, and it's been very humbling, and I'm honored to have that responsibility. But we basically we took our whole business, which is providing accessible and affordable tools and information to retail, and we've basically converted it almost like one-to-one to like providing like free alpha, free blog posts, deep dives into Senate trading, into Chamath, into Portnoy. We've basically take the entire business to and then provided it for free for good financial journalism, because that's something we're super passionate about, because it doesn't necessarily really exist. I think, I mean, you and Wolf and Gav would know very well that financial journalism as a whole is often struggling for many reasons. And so we're like, okay, well, we're independent, and we're just going to turn the business into what people want to hear about in a active way. So that's what we did. Please, Tom, you had your hand up. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, Whale. I mean, by all means. No, all I was going to say, I mean, so for all those that don't know, very, very high level, very quick. Sean and I met through Twitter, actually, right? And we were both day traders professionally. This is what we do for our living. And he was posting a lot of TA. Again, I'm like fundamentals. I'm old. I'm not to say an old dog can't learn new tricks, but I'm very good at certain specific components of investing and evaluating markets. But I'm like the guy that can find the target, if you will, to get over. It's like, yeah, the market's going to move this way. This is probably where we want to be. But I usually have horrible entry and exits, and not horrible, but they definitely have room for improvement. Let's put it that way. And so Sean's, steeped in the TA side of things. And what we found was when we work together, although we don't always agree 100% of the time, usually when we find something that we're both in agreement on, from the fundamentals, market analysis, I mean, news, the economy, everything, and the TA goes into place, that's usually that's really a good thing. And then we try to take bias out of that, and we go and we use Whale, right? And if you can start to then see, unusual options activity that also permeates around the things that you're already feeling very confident about, so you have a high confidence interval, right, on your underlying picks, it usually just adds conviction and fuel to the fire. So again, I think that tools in the tool belt is very important. And, as Dark Pool, I mean, it's a Dark Pool wizard. He likes to watch the Dark Pool prints, right? I just look at it as everything as additional data source, additional components to add conviction to the trades that I make. Because at the end of the day, I mean, it's your money, right? And so you want to at least make sure that you've done the due diligence. And as Whale said, even in kind of financial journalism, so to speak, there's seriously a high degree of things to be wanted that are not there. And those are things that I know Gav is trying to change, Whale is trying to change, we are trying to change. So hopefully, the movement of the retail investor will continue to grow, and we'll all grow together, and all make money together, and not make it kind of how it was when I was in the industry, which was the odds stacked against you, so to speak, at the casino.
100%. This retail movement, I think, has been very key to it, as we've seen growth within it, right? Maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago, retail made up, 15% of the market, maybe 20%. Now that number has, gone up into the 30s, I believe. And, only looks to continue to keep growing as more money's coming in from that end, more accessibility, more tools such as this. I want to bring Stock Talk Weekly into this, but right before I do, I just want to mention to anybody that is enjoying Twitter Spaces, that is essentially what I built a lot of this around on. I also run the Wolf account that's up here, and it's very difficult for people to find when a lot of Twitter Spaces are going to be, because we can only put out one reminder tweet ahead of time, and that's why I've gone ahead and created a free public Google Calendar that I try to track as many Twitter Spaces on as possible. And so that is something which I'm happy to add anybody to. Your information won't be shared. I think we have 400 people now that are on this calendar. And so if you just DM me your email and just ask to be added to the calendar, I will be happy to get to that. I have like 100 from last night that I have to get onto, but I'm chipping away at it. I'm doing my best. And also, if while you're at it, you care to be added to my newsletter, I'd be happy to put you on that as well. But definitely the calendar, I think, is a really big thing that's making an impact, because you won't be late to these things. You can choose how you want it set. You can turn it on or off. You can set a 10-minute reminder ahead of time. Whatever it is, you just won't have to worry about missing really important spaces that cover all different topics of finance, ranging from, investing in options, momentum trading, crypto, NFTs, whatever it is. I will try to get experts into a space to cover it for you. With that being said, I would love to go to Stock Talk Weekly to hear how you've been using the flow.
Hey, man. Yeah, I don't want to take up too much time. I mean, and Whale and Snorlax and Shark, they are much better and much, more informed flow traders than I am. I do use flow a lot. What I really just want to say on the topic, mainly, especially for new traders, is flow is almost like any other data point in the market. Once you become more experienced and knowledgeable about the application of it, you can use it more effectively. But I think a mistake that new traders make is, and this applies to dark pool as well. Anytime they see high dollar value flow or high dollar value inflow in the dark pool, or even on unusual Whales feed, they think that immediately it's suggestive of guaranteed upside. And that's a misperception that people need to understand. You need to know how to analyze flow in the context of what's going on in the market, right? Like, you're much more likely to find a profitable or successful trade based on flow or dark pool orders if that trade is in line with some other market thesis or a hot sector, or a narrative that's being pushed on social media or whatever it is. You're much more likely to find a successful trade if it's backed up by some kind of context. So, people have this perception that, people who are placing big bets or big block orders just never lose money. And that's not the case, right? Like, even institutions lose on plenty of the trades or positions that they take. So, just a general point I want to make, and it's not really maybe a profound point or a long-winded point, is just be careful making the assumption that large inflows, whether it's on standard option flow or on dark pool flow, is guaranteed to be suggestive of a winning trade. It's not. And if you blindly just follow large size flow, then overall you're going to find a lot of inconsistency in your the effectiveness of your strategy. You're going to be much better off and much more consistently profitable if you put in the work to build a context around why you believe that flow is meaningful. It's not just immediately meaningful because it's large in size or large in scale, or repetitive inflows. Like that's not immediately suggestive of something. People place losing bets at every size of account or buying power or, um, order size. So that's just a general point I wanted to make. I think everything else has really been covered by these guys. Shark and Snorlax and Whale are super knowledgeable about flow and a lot more knowledgeable than I am. I'm not a flow centered trader. I do use it I use it frequently, and I use the Unusual Whale service as well frequently. But I'm not as much of a flow centric trader. But what I do think is that a lot of newer traders who are getting into using options flow and who are getting into using dark pool flow have this massive misperception that they just take every trade where they see large scale inflow, and I don't think that that's a guaranteed strategy. Again, you have to have some kind of context to better inform why it's a good trade.
Yeah, I completely agree with you there. You cannot happen blindly to a lot of these things. I think, Shark System's really good, and he does a lot of live streams throughout the day, which you can hop in on and kind of watch his process live. But the way that I see it, right, you want to find those flow, find those alerts, and then do some actual due diligence, right? You never just want to follow the money. You want to look at things like the technicals, right? Perhaps it's like, why did so much money come in? Perhaps it was just bouncing off the anchor VWAP from the highs, or perhaps there was a moving average that was coming in, or there's a catalyst, right? And like you can kind of piece together the pieces. So I completely agree with you, Stock Talk Weekly, with that. Before I
Yeah,
go to
like the more data you have, the better always. Like even if you have flow that's suggestive of a trade, if you have other data to back that up, whether it's a theme or a catalyst or news or sentiment, whatever it is, the more data you have, and this is the case with every kind of trade, the better. And flow is a very powerful tool if you know how to use it and know how to leverage it against other data. But again, it's just a data point. So don't be misled by over relying on one data point. And that doesn't just apply to flow and dark pool orders. That applies to anything, even technical indicators. You see a lot of new traders over relying on a single technical indicator, thinking, there's some new traders that all they look at is RSI and they go, oh my God, the stock's oversold, it has to bounce. Like, no, stocks can be oversold for years, right? So there's a bunch of, again, it applies to every single aspect of trading. Everything's just a data point. The more data that you have that's, congruent, the better, and the more likely your trade will be better off. So, people who are using flow and dark pool, I just encourage you, do some technical analysis as well. Do some fundamental analysis as well. Do some analysis on the climate and the sentiment of the market. Do some analysis on what the trends and themes are. And if you leverage all of that data together, it's much more likely your flow data is going to be more telling to you and is going to generate more specific trade ideas because, even with Whale's service, there's a lot of data, right? And if you want to be able to sift through it effectively and be able to find, because there's going to be large scale orders in any number of stocks and equities. So, being able to distinguish which of those plays is more significant or more likely to generate a profitable trade, you need more data to be able to narrow that down.
Couldn't agree more. Stock market news. Did you have a comment?
Yeah, quickly. Sorry, just when you were talking about the calendar earlier, it just made me thinking. Wolf also has a newsletter, so if you're emailing or DMing him about the calendar, tell him you want to be on that as well. It's pretty great. It's very timely on Fridays. Yeah, so make sure you do that. And then I know we have a couple hands up, but for anyone, I don't really care who this is. I'm really new to Unusual Whales and using the system and using the website. What's like a first thing you would do when getting onto Unusual Whales, or like a recommendation to learn a little bit more about the platform itself?
I see a mic open. Well, first off, Whales, would you like to answer that?
Yeah, what I would do, for anyone who's first starting, is just read all the docs. We have like a fairly extensive docs page. Basically walks you through everything. Sometimes it lags behind like our features because we're changing things daily. And so sometimes there's maybe a new feature on the flow that isn't necessarily fully documented. I mean, that's just the reality. But I would start with the docs page. It would lead you then to a bunch of tutorials and YouTube videos. That's going to be that's like a week of your time right there. and then I would start paper trading things. Usually what I recommend. I usually recommend people like even before they do the platform, like 2 to 3 months of paper trading, generally speaking. That's just to like understand how these things move. The market isn't going anywhere. Gav said retail participation was around like 15%. Now it's closer to 30. But in the options market itself, retail participation over the summer in the options market, low volume for institutions, was 60% of the market. So like a crazy, crazy number. It's not going away. So then, once you start paper trading, then what I often recommend is like, because a lot of people also have like lower accounts, sub, they're in the pattern day trading rules restrictions. So I usually recommend that people just start trading directions with just the shares themselves. That gives them a good understanding of like, oh, when would I exit and when would I enter? Then they've been doing it for maybe like 3-4 months. Hopefully they have a good understanding of directions. They have a good understanding of exit and entries, because a lot of traders, when they're first trading options, they have no concept of that whatsoever. And then you've probably developed your own style. You've taken hints from other people, and you know what you're looking for when you're doing flow trading. And then it's just doing options from that point on and learning a lot from there. There's a lot of great people to follow, like Tristan is a good example of that, Shark Trader, Snorlax here, The Real Tomato. There's like Exclusive is here, Dark, like because so many people do it so many different ways, you need to develop the pattern of trading yourself, stock market news. So that's what I would recommend, what I usually recommend, and it gives you enough time to develop your own strategies. Yeah.
Love that. Love that. Okay, so I think, Darkpool, I think you have limited time, so I'm going to go to you just for a minute before Shark. But before that, I'm getting a couple comments in my DMs. Two things. One, I can't add you to the calendar based off of your username. I do need your email. So if you already DM me and your email wasn't in it, please send me the email as well. And then number two, the newsletter is completely free. There's no charge on it, and it comes out once a week, and it's a 3-minute read. So I'm not trying to clog up anyone's inbox here. It's very straightforward. And Stock Market News has his as well, which I'll definitely ask anybody who comes in if they want that as well. But Darkpool would love to go to you and then over to Shark.
Thank you. I'm sorry, this is the first space I've ever been on, so I don't know how to raise my hand.
So
I apologize,
see
Shark.
the little heart emoji
I do.
with the plus? So it's all the way on the right side of that. There's like a little hand.
Okay. Real quick, I do have to go. I have to go pick my kid up at school. There is one thing extremely important about the dark pool that I forgot to point out that is very useful, and that is the ETF. So I'll just give 2 quick examples of it, and it actually benefited me very greatly in the last 2 weeks. The JETS, JETS, the JETS ETF came out 2 weeks ago, several million plus prints on it. It let me know to pay attention to the airlines, and then sure enough, next week, we started getting prints on the airlines. And then XLF, the financial for the spider, XLF, started seeing abnormally large prints on it and unusual prints on it. And then sure enough, started getting stuff from the banking sector. So there is way more valuable information in the dark pool than just, hey, look, this stock had a 1 million print. The ETFs tell such a great story, whether it be a sector or an emerging market or something's going on over in Japan or something's going on in the European market or the banking sector. There is way more information in there than just that. I have to go. Thank y'all very much for having me, Wales. Thank you for what you do.
Thank you so much for coming on and chatting with us. All right, Shark, going to you.
All right, sorry, this is just something that kind of clicked in my mind a little bit when Stock Talk was talking about some stuff. And I'll keep this very short and simple. Everyone, especially, okay, I've been doing options for a long time. And what I notice probably more than anything when I see, especially on Twitter and stuff, is with people that are newer options traders, is you have to learn proper risk management and proper portfolio allocation. So I really, really, really preach this. I'll be honest, I'll never go more than 10% on any specific option for my current portfolio. It's very important to me because what people need to understand is that option can go to zero, okay? So don't risk your full 100% YOLO in on a single option, okay? And like I said, and Stock Talks talked about it. And then also at the same time, I make this a certain rule. I don't lose more than 2% of my entire portfolio on any single trade. So if I'm down 2% of my entire portfolio, I'm out. I move on. I cut my losses and I move on to the next opportunity. Okay. But I really, really want to preach proper risk management and proper portfolio allocation if you're going to be an options trader. And you need to make sure you're looking at the proper delta to theta ratio if you're going to be swinging these options. If you get into the wrong option, you could be looking at something where your actual stock moves for you, but you're losing money on the option because you're getting destroyed by theta. Okay. So if I'm swinging something, I need to make sure that my delta to theta ratio is 10 to 1, right? And that's where the options calculator comes in crucial for me on Unusual Whale. So sorry, that was just really quick that I wanted to key on Wolf, is if you are doing an options trader, and especially you're new, you need to make sure you have proper portfolio allocation.
Shark, I love the passion. I feel like there's a lot of people that can relate with that, and it's really so true what you said. And I've fallen into that piddle before, where you're looking at it like the other day. I had a Tesla call, which I should have held longer, but basically, based on where I bought it, and because of the IV and because of the theta decay, although the stock was moving upwards, I was still in the negative. The stock was higher than where I bought it, and that's a common thing that I think can really psych people out when it comes to options when they're unfamiliar with the Greeks, which you just mentioned, which is a great thing for people to look into. And so again, like, you can't just jump into these things, even if it just looks good. It's really important to go and do that due diligence, because even if you see this flow that came in, right? Depending on how quick you are, you can be dealing with a totally different set of Greek, set of IV than that person that placed that trade. So even if you're taking the same strike, same date, things can have changed. So it's really important to continue to keep an eye on those things. Okay, so I'm gonna do maybe like a few more minutes of some stuff on the platform, and then just roll into some wrap up. So exclusive, I know you didn't get a ton of chances to speak, but I'd love to go back to you on moving forward, how you continue to, I guess, implement this into what your trading style is, or if there's any features on the platform that we haven't talked about that are something that you think more people should know about, should get more recognition.
Yeah, I think as I explore the tons of information on it, I mean, this is just a lot of information to take in, so I can definitely relate to, especially someone who's not experienced trading as much. That there's so much data. It's really important to remember that there's not one specific style that works perfectly, and I think of it kind of as a one-stop shop. I see. There's option data, there's, all this news data. There's so much data that it's really just, I really don't need to go to any other websites. It's all just kind of on one link for me. So that's one of the biggest things I'm really starting to like about this. For being primarily an option trader, we were talking about risk management, and part of that risk management comes to understanding why you're making the trade. And, these pieces of information that are all over the Unusual Whales that you can utilize to manage risk properly is really beneficial. And I don't want to be too long-winded. We talked about it a lot already. But with risk, for me personally, if I'm taking a alert, if I'm a newer trader and I don't know how to manage risk properly, and I'm thinking, okay, my risk tolerance is minus 50% is going to be my stop loss, then just trade with half the size. If you're going to spend 1,000, then spend 500, and just don't go all in every trade. And I see it a lot. So definitely, there's so many ways to manage risk just from using Unusual Whales. So it's really crucial to implement those into every.
Like, this is cool. I wanted to learn more about this platform. There is also a community, right? And obviously there's Whales community on here, but there's also the Discord, which I just want to touch on. And I think maybe Stonerman, if you want to touch on kind of what people can get out of the Discord. There's a lot that goes on. There's a whole kind of like university part to the Discord. They're also dealing with like they have like connections like OpenSea. They have the main deck, whale sighting alerts. So you can kind of get a lot of this information filtered for you. So I just love to hear from you, Stonerman. It's like what people can be getting in this Discord.
Yeah, and Snorlax can definitely attest to that really well, as he spends quite a bit more time within the community there than I do, although I am doing my best to pick that up. But there's a free general chat for anybody who's not subscribed yet, where numerous people are in there talking and chatting all day, and I see a lot of questions get asked in there. A couple of the Discord mods hang out in there, and it's a really good resource for people just learning that haven't paid for the service. There's there is like a community flow one. They even separate, the noise as well. So a lot of times you'll get people having some back and forths about some things that are kind of off topic to trading. There's a side channel specifically for that. There's strategizing channels. There are SPAC specific channels. So if somebody's like really into SPACs, they can spend their time in there chatting. And there's the Twitter feed channel as well that kind of pulls the alerts that Whale himself pushes out on Twitter. So I actually want to add anything to that. It's just a really helpful community. Tons of people are in there all day, every day, talking, bouncing ideas. Questions are generally answered pretty quickly as well, which is huge.
I see Snorlax back up here. Yeah, Snorlax, any comments?
Yep. I think that was pretty concise. There's a lot of people that, like you said, answers questions. This is honestly, the Discord is where I got my start like a year and some change ago. So I think I can kind of speak to like how, I'm not saying that you'll become like the best trader in the world, but I think you can definitely learn a lot. Like I've learned a lot. I'm not like making $1 million every day, but the wealth of knowledge in the Discord has really helped me. Just like I guess where I am now, and I'm still learning. There's super smart people. There's literally people that like a congressional aide is in like the the private sub channel, and they let us know. They kind of tell us like what's happening with like the infrastructure bill. Nothing secret, obviously, just stuff that like maybe the news hasn't quite reported, that isn't like insider information, just like schedules and stuff like that. Like it's still on XYZ's desk, stuff like that. So I mean, there's just so many resources. There's a lot of people in there. You'll learn something, like I promise. So just come by, say hello, and it's like moderated, and no one's gonna be mean to you. So it's a nice place to be.
Not to interrupt you, Gav, I just want to say, side note, Snorlax is really underfollowed. So for anybody here that's not following him, go give him a follow. I mean, he shares a lot of insights on the flow data. Even I've picked up great trade ideas from some of the stuff he's shared. He gives it like, a little short, but concise and effective insight on some of the flow data as well. And so, really good guy to follow. Go follow Snorlax. I just wanted to say that.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Appreciate that.
Absolutely. With that being said, we run about an hour 15. I want to make sure that we get through everything. I feel like we've had some really good content. Again, this was recorded, so big shout out to @WadeStonks. Doing, again, the Lord's work out here recording. I'll do my best to get that up on Spotify, on YouTube, so you can listen to it or watch it, whichever way you prefer, as soon as possible. There's a lot of recordings from this week that I actually have to get up. I'm going to be working on that for the rest of the day. With that being said, let's move into just some closing comments and anything else, that you think people should know, or anything else you just want to talk about. Stock Talk Weekly, do you want to go first?
Yeah, man, I just want to say, there's a lot of services, on Twitter that, some are great, some are not. The great thing about, Wales is even for himself, people that ask him, and, it's in his benefit to tell everyone to subscribe. But, I really respect and appreciate that he tells new traders, to go check out the free aspects of the service before they do that. It kind of just shows his integrity, and, obviously it's in his benefit, again, to pound the table and tell you all to subscribe, but he's not going to do that. If you do find it beneficial for you after you've, used the free components of his service, then definitely do it. I'm a subscriber. A lot of people I know are subscribers and, find it very beneficial. But it does require you to have that level of experience and knowledge to be able to use it effectively and not just use it blindly and slap the ask on anything you see big flow on. So learn how to discriminate between the data and to assess, how flow applies. And kind of just to, just summarize with what I said earlier, be careful about assuming that any sort of large scale orders or large blocks or large options flow or large dark pool is always suggestive of a winning trade. It's not. You need context. You need additional data to be able to distinguish which are the best trading opportunities. So continue to do that, and whether it's flow or any other sort of data, the more data you have, the better. Do yourself a favor and learn about technical analysis, learn about fundamental analysis, learn how to analyze market sentiment, learn how to analyze how policy changes macroeconomic impact on the market, learn all these things, and then, leverage things like flow and dark pool data to your advantage based on that information. But yeah, I mean, these guys are all great traders, and I respect them all. So, I know I didn't have a ton to contribute to this space, but yeah, I mean, thanks for having me on, and I appreciate all these guys.
Pleasure having you on, as always. And again, I just want to reiterate, these speakers came on, took an hour out of their day. They took power hour out of their day, actually, which is a time when a lot of them are trading avidly. There's an opportunity to cost to that. And I want to deeply thank them. And to our listeners, these are really the people, like, you come to Finance Twitter to try and learn. You want people that are, we're sitting here going and do our due diligence. Like, I've looked into these people. I really do vouch for them. And I recommend giving them that follow. Shark, did you want to go next?
Yeah, just really quick, just to kind of wrap up, I want to say thank you. First and foremost, everyone here should definitely go follow everyone here. But I guess I don't think Whale will do it because he's such a good person. But anyone here, go check out like the Whale Twitch. I'm going to be on there with Stoner Man tonight, right? And we're going to go through and I'll show out my different strategies and different stuff. The one thing that's so cool is there's so many different people out there right now trying to help the retail trader. And what I love about the whole platform of Unusual Whale is it's helped me. So now what I'm just trying to do is I'm trying to go out and help new people. So anyone here listening, if you're new, reach out. Snorlax is awesome. He was one of the first people that I reached out to and was always there to support me, right? And I'm just letting you guys know that if you guys need anything, reach out to me, reach out to Spider-Man, reach out to anyone up here. We'll help you with that process. And yeah, thank you again. And at the same time, I'll be on with Spider-Man tonight on the Whale Twitch at 7 p.m. Eastern. I'll be showing off my my strategies for y'all.
100%. Can't wait, man. Love those live streams. And also thank you to the listeners who, 1,000 people took an hour out of their day to come learn about following the flow. Props to you for putting in the time and education. Like, nobody's making anybody be here unless somebody is making you be here, in which case, thanks for being here as well. But, I'm getting all these great DMs as well in the messages, people that are loving this and enjoying. And I got to say, I'm the same way. I'm early on in my trading career, was blessed with the opportunity to learn from some of the best, up here, and just going to continue doing that. So if that's something that you enjoy, I appreciate those who are following me as well. I'm going to be hosting tons of spaces, hopefully with this crew, with more crews throughout the next several weeks. And we're just going to keep the ball rolling. Big Short, did you want to go next?
Yeah, just a quick ad from me. So I want to thank all of the guys over here for sharing with everyone the trades and all the information and the knowledge that they have with the retail. I think it really helps a lot. So big shout out for all of you. And the second thing I want to add is in the recent situation on the market, the best, if we want to stand against the big players that are in the control of the status quo, it would be the best that we don't panic but organize and use the tool that are provided by Usual Whales to just minimize the gap, the advantage that the whales have over the small fishes. And I think that the Usual Way is doing a great job to aggregating all the data and everything to just help the small fishes, swim, organize, and fight against the big whales and just win the game. Yeah. So thank you. That's it from me.
Pleasure having you on. Evan, stock market news. Would you like to know? And also, real quick, I just want to say about Evan. I know I didn't get a chance to talk a ton on this space, but such a good account if you want the news quickly. If you have heard of like Benzinga Pro, that's where they try to break the news to you at the same second, but you have to pay for it and stuff. And stock market news basically just does that for free. His whole account is just the breaking news right away, and he does it for stocks, crypto, earnings, and so many other areas. So a really valuable account, and clearly it's shown in his followers.
No, I really appreciate the kind words, man. And, I'm really happy to be on the spaces and be able to listen and just learn. This is something that's so new to me. And I hope we have another one that I can check back and be more of a part of. And maybe I'm part of the beginner people in here. Funny enough, we're talking about news. I know Unusual Whales commented on this, but an AMC interesting story came out. They're getting into the popcorn game now, which is funny, but it makes sense for them. But it's just funny that just came out. I do just want to reiterate what a couple of the other people have said up here. all these speakers, you got to check them out. At least, click into their profile. I suggest you give them all a follow. Shout out to Wolf. Shout out to Guy for putting this on. I always love these spaces. He's hosting it from his personal account. That's the Wolf account. That's Gav. Check him out. Give him a follow and everything. And make sure you follow Unusual Whales and everyone else up here.
100%, man. Yeah, interesting with AMC. I just saw you tweet that out. You were quick at that. Okay, Tom, we'd love to hear from you.
That's what I get from multitasking. Gav, why do you put on these spaces? They're just totally worthless, pointless. I see no value here, sir. Please go back to the drawing board. I kid. Seriously, thank you for having myself, Sean, the Wizard, Whale. Thank you also for your support. This is, I mean, just to kind of echo what's already been said. I don't want to summarize the summary, but I coming from my background, I always kind of felt like chips were stacked against the individual investor, and I've been outside of that world, the institutional world, for a while, and really it has been about trying to find a way to give back and have some sort of a mission statement or a core purpose or an endeavor, if you will. And Whale, I think, really kind of composes that at the core, and what Unusual Whales is, and how it has been so influential to the retail trader. And I'm grateful that there are other people out there that do have the kind of genuine desire and will to help make people be in a better place, help improve other people's lives. That is what this is about. That is why we volunteer the time. And it's always nice to be in company with similarly minded people. So thank you for having us. Appreciate it. I hope everybody has a great day.
100%. Appreciate you, Tom. Stonerman, you want to go next?
Yeah, that works out. I have to hop off and make a call myself anyway. So just like everyone else, thanks again for having me on here. It's been really cool. And it's just really nice to see all these people coming together to help people out. Like Shark said, Just Two Traders, Mr. The Real Tomato and Shark of Traders will be on the Unusual Whales Twitch tonight going over their strategies. And we'll be having people on with some semblance of frequency there once or twice a week moving forward to do more or less the same stuff that you great guys are doing here, which is, helping people learn. And it's really nice to be a part of that.
Love that. Appreciate you and everything you're doing in that Discord. Snorlax?
Got nothing else. Thanks so much for coming out, guys. Appreciate it. Thanks for having us.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, and I'll reiterate what Talk Weekly said. Snorlax is one of like 3 accounts that I have notifications on. It's definitely worth it for the information that you get, and you want to get it on a timely basis. Exclusive.
Hey, yeah, no, definitely. Just to kind of echo here, I greatly appreciate you putting these spaces on. I think we're coming up on 1 month of doing them, so this is definitely something I'm glad to be a part of. And Unusual Whales, definitely thank you for creating your service. It is definitely a game changer for retail, and we're also definitely about empowering retail. So we try to provide and hopefully combine our services and just give more to the community. So it's definitely good to be a part of it. Yeah, and if anybody wants tickers looked at, we'd love to dive into more stuff. And I definitely need more practice with Unusual Whales. So if you guys want to throw a few tickers my way, we'll take a look at it and see what we can come up with.
Yeah, and great spot to do that. And by the way, just exclusive, I just mentioned we're coming up on a month. Sometimes I do find some real gems in this community, and they end up on my spaces over and over and over. And if you've been around this week, I've probably done, several hours already with exclusive this week. And he just mentioned to hit him up. He's got a great Discord. There's some awesome discourse going on in there. It's a great spot. I think that it works really well with the Unusual Whales platform because it's an awesome way to also, find ideas. He's talking in there. He's got some bots that do like anchored VWAP and some other stuff. And so you can check that out. I think it's in his bio. And then that's a great symbol with Unusual Whales to like find ideas and then go in and see the flow. You can go both ways with this. You can find stuff within the flow and then go into Discord, be like, hey, what's your thoughts on this? And you can go the opposite way. I love playing it both sides. So shout out to you, Exclusive, and everything you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And my DM's open on Twitter too, so doesn't even need to be on Discord. Just do it on Twitter also. Definitely always here to help.
100%. Of course. Awesome. So that was, I think, all the main speakers, and then the man of the hour, Whale. Would love to hear if you have any closing remarks.
Yeah, just want to thank you guys for having us. And my final thoughts is there's a lot to build, and there's a lot to learn. So you don't need to do it with us, but you should do it anyways. And we'll be here to help everyone. So yeah, that's it.
Appreciate everything you do. Make sure you're following Whale. Make sure you're checking out that platform. Again, there's even free parts of that platform. So it's not about spending money here and throwing it willy-nilly. It's just about education and learning and giving yourself opportunity. Don't be shy to chase that opportunity. I'll reiterate once more as well with the calendar. I'll be doing 2 Twitter Spaces tomorrow, one at 12 p.m. EST, one at 4 p.m. EST with stock market news. Those are going to be covering, I think Shark will be on the 4 p.m. Yeah. So those are going to be covering, those will be covering some trading from the week, some news from the week, things like that. And then I'll probably have like 10 next week. Who knows? I got to get on the grind with scheduling those. And if you want to just see when all those are, just shoot me your email in the DMs and I will add you to the free Google Spaces calendar and you won't miss one. And then also, if you want to be on my newsletter, Stock Market News' newsletter, you can just ask for that in the DMs as well. They're completely free. With that being said, wishing everybody health, wealth, success in the rest of your day. It's a beautiful day out. Go get some air, right? Take a walk, breathe a little bit. Trading's, slowing down for the day. Reminisce, do a little meditation, everything that works for you.
And call your parents if you can.
Call your parents and tell them that you love them. If you do, hopefully you do. Yeah. With that being said, wishing everybody a great evening. Take care, y'all. I will talk with you very shortly.